Okay, so Ben Shapiro has a new election special that has been aired on Fox News of all places. It's another one of his basically scripted little things that he does. It's overall pretty boring, and this one that we're going to be looking at is him going after Bernie Sanders. Once again, we've looked at a few different things that he's done against Bernie Sanders. One of them was him supposedly debunking his form of democratic socialism, which is actually social democracy. And so his entire video was based on a faulty premise in the first place. And he did the talk about the Medicare for all study, while not stating that it would save us $2 trillion or $5 trillion max. So he was obviously being clearly disingenuous, but Ben Shapiro is going to drop some mean facts on Bernie Sanders, and he's going to debunk him, the stupid lefty. So watch him get debunked.
Welcome back for tonight's big point. This week, Senator Bernie Sanders, official beloved loon bag of the Democratic establishment, sounded off on what America meant to him. He did so while appearing with alleged comedian Sarah Silverman, who's mostly famous for saying dirty words in a little girl voice. Here's what the Lake House owning senator had to say.
We can't even use dirty words. This is the United States Senate.
I can't?
No, it's the United States Senate. We just starve little children. We go bomb houses and buses of children, and we give tax breaks to billionaires, but we don't use dirty words.
So Bernie is both ignorant and unfunny, but at least he does have that cute Bernie voice that makes him beloved to college students everywhere. And also, he loves pudding. His entire lake house filled with different flavors of pudding. Bernie's statement is actually important because it does reveal a serious gap in the way Americans from the hard left think versus the rest of America. In the view of the hard left, universal ills are uniquely America's fault. Specific goods are actually the result of universal culture. So poverty, America's fault. Landing on the moon, a world achievement. War, America's fault. A thriving global economy, a world achievement. The hard left believes America's an evil, awful place, founded in racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia. All of our pretentious talk about all men being created equal with inalienable rights, all of that is just cover for the patriarchy, heteronormative, cisgender power structure that deprives outsiders of their due. That's the view of Howard Zinn, of Hollywood, and of Bernie Sanders. It's why many on the left kneel for the flag. The flag is the symbol of a uniquely bad nation with a uniquely bad idea. This is all absolutely wrong. America's founding creed, the belief in God-given individual rights protected by a limited government enshrined by a virtuous people, has achieved precisely the opposite of what Sanders says. No, America does not starve little children. America lifts little children from poverty. The power of the America-led free trade and free market economy has alleviated global poverty faster than any force in human history. We are the engine of the world's prosperity, and that engine is going strong. According to the World Bank, over the last 3 decades, extreme global poverty has dropped by 74.1%. Literally hundreds of millions of people have been lifted from poverty by the power of the American economy and its involvement in the world economy. And little children aren't starving in America either. Robert Rector and Rachel Sheffield of the Heritage Foundation report, quote, "A poor child is more likely to have cable TV, a computer, a widescreen plasma TV, an Xbox, or a TiVo in the home than to be hungry." According to Pew Research, the U.S. stands head and shoulders above the rest of the world in terms of wealth. 56% of Americans were high income by global standards, 32% were upper middle income. Only 2% of Americans are poor by global standards. How about giving tax breaks to billionaires? As Senator Sanders well knows, the highest income earners in America pay the most taxes. By far, it's not close. The top 1% of earners, you know, the 1%, they pay 39% of federal income taxes. The top 10% pay 70.6% of federal income taxes. The bottom 50% of income earners pay less than 3% of our federal income taxes. America's tax system is more progressive than any other developed country in the world, according to the Washington Post. You can't cut taxes for tax brackets that barely pay taxes. And Bernie could start by donating that lake house. What about bombing homes and houses of children? Let's just remind Senator Sanders that America defeated slavery and Nazism and communism. Well, to be fair, he might still be a bit bitter about that last one. America spent more blood and treasure defending the freedom of others than any country in world history. The Union lost some 365,000 soldiers in the Civil War to free the slaves, 117,000 in World War I to keep Europe free of German imperialism, 405,000 Americans died in World War II to keep the world free of fascism. 37,000 died to keep South Korean people free. 58,000 died in a vain attempt to keep the Vietnamese people free. More than 2,000 in a continuing attempt to free Afghanistan of its terror masters, and yes, 4,500 in a continuing attempt to free Iraq. That doesn't mean America hasn't made mistakes. But the American fighting men and women have been more humane in their pursuit of liberty for others than any other fighting force in human history, and the world has trended toward democracy and freedom because of it. So, Senator Sanders, I'd love to tell you precisely where you can go, but I'm on Fox News. And on Fox News, just like in the Senate, we're still not allowed to curse.
So that was nothing short, I repeat, nothing short of absolute, complete hilariousness, because the entire thing is completely based on a false premise once again. And this false premise is, again, that he's some sort of advocate of communism, USSR-style communism, or if he's some advocate of Venezuela-style socialism, when that's not what he's an advocate for. He's an advocate of social democracy, which isn't even the same. And Ben Shapiro has said this already, so he knows what the fuck he's talking about. I think he's just being a douche on purpose. But what's hilarious about this is supposed to be the facts over feelings guy. And all it takes is a quick Google search of how many kids go hungry every year. And there's literally numbers on this, obviously. This one says an estimated 48.8 million Americans, including 16.2 million children, live in households that lack the means to get enough nutritious food on a regular basis. As a result, about 1 in 5 children go hungry at some point during the year. That is some startling numbers. I didn't even know those numbers. 1 in 5 children go hungry at some point during the year. So 16.2 million children are going hungry every year at some point in time. That should be an issue that's more at the forefront of our nation. We should be, for me especially, I think that the quality of the nation is not the, quality of the richest people of society, but it is the, the situation of everybody in society. So I think like the bottom line, I think, is the determinant. So if we have over 16 million children per year going hungry, we're not a very good nation for our own people, because and the craziest part is that, like, Ben Shapiro says he's pro-life, so he's he's not pro-choice, but again, it's more like being pro-fetus, because once you're out of the womb, they really don't give a fuck about you. So it doesn't seem like Ben Shapiro gives a fuck that 16 million children are going hungry every year. 1 in 5 children go hungry at some point during the year, and this is supposed to be the facts over feelings guy. And he, for some reason, is making some weird comparison between USSR-style communism or Venezuelan-type socialism, or just communism/socialism in general, and making a comparison to capitalism in the United States as if that's the issue we're talking about here. That's not the debate going on, you fucking idiots. What we're talking about here is we're talking about strengthening the welfare state. We're talking about moving in a more social democratic leaning way, moving towards the way other European countries are. So stop trying to misrepresent the situation as if Bernie Sanders is, idolizing USSR-type socialism or Venezuelan socialism, and, it's America's system that is better. I agree America's system is a fuck ton better than the USSR or Venezuela. I 100% agree with you, but that's not the debate that anybody is having right now. The debate people are having is, holy fuck, we have 1 in 5 children going hungry. We need to make sure that that's not happening. We need to lower that number. I think that there shouldn't be a single person in the United States going hungry, because we're the richest nation ever in all of history. There's no reason for a single fucking person to go hungry at any point in time whatsoever. And there's a certain irony to praising the United States and giving it a verbal blowjob when it's so great. I think the argument Bernie Sanders would give is essentially like, if it's so great, this is supposed to be the greatest nation, why does it have over 16 million children hungry? And his answer to that is not, let's go into, redistribution of wealth and let's have the workers' own industry. That's not his solution. His solution is to increase the welfare state, to provide a system in which there aren't 16.2 million children going hungry at any point, because that, honestly, to tell you the truth, that really isn't a country I want to live in, because I think that that says a lot about that. You know, that many children going hungry says a lot about the people of the nation itself. And then, you know, Bernie Sanders brings up bombing houses. And keep in mind about all this, that was just, that whole thing was a joke in the first place. But that, like, Ben Shapiro asks if that doesn't happen. Like, them bombing weddings in Afghanistan and shit like that doesn't happen. Innocent civilians aren't being killed every day. And obviously, we know under Trump, he lacks the, you know, rules of engagement. So it's even worse. There were even more in Mosul, you know, innocent people dying and crazy shit like that. And again, the douchiness from this fuckface is even higher, because in this context, it's even higher because we know that Ben Shapiro wrote an entire article saying that basically he doesn't care if innocent civilians in Afghanistan die. He doesn't care. So he is the ultimate piece of garbage human being who's a complete piece of shit. Um, but man, this takedown really fucking sucked. Ben Shapiro needs to have some like more ammo other than bullshit strawman, because it looks like he's kamehamehing a bunch of strawmans. Like he kamehamehas, but a bunch of strawmans appear instead of a big ass blue fucking blast. So this motherfucker needs to come up with something different, because I gotta tell you, man, this shit's getting real stale, because the straw, it is getting fucking, it's getting soggy, man. It got wet and it's all soggy now. So you gotta come up with something different, man, because just bringing up USSR type socialism or Venezuelan socialism is not a relevant thing in this debate that we're having right now.